Discover the amazing truth. I sold my beach house overnight and it transformed everything for her. Jack stared blankly at the sold sign outside their beach house, once a sanctuary of whispered laughter and salty air, now a marker of his desperation. The memories were heavy within him, dragging him down as he mentally counted the days left to make ends meet. He wasn't just the science teacher hero of Crestview High. He was Emma's single dad, the last bastion of a family crumbling under the weight of expectations. With each tick of the clock, apprehension coiled tighter around his chest. He had always told himself that a father's promise was as central to life as gravitational pull, that he would provide for Emma's future as his wife once wanted. But promises felt wispy now, fading like the evening light glimmering on the ocean. He contemplated the implications of that impulse-driven decision. Selling the beach house meant sacrificing a sacred piece of their history, a place where family dreams had been woven into every beam and nail. In its stead, he clutched the empty echoes of quiet evenings spent with Emma, their hearts reaching out across an invisible gap that loomed larger each day. He squeezed his eyes shut, drowning in questions. Was he still Emma's protector? Or had he become the phantom of a father who had surrendered their home for a fleeting whisper of hope? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The noise of the diner echoed in his head, overlapping with the silence at home. Every double shift, every plate he served, seemed insignificant in light of his choice. He should be proud, striving harder for Emma's dreams, but unease rippled through him. Was he doing it all wrong? She was smart, brighter than he had been at her age, but now he feared he had lost both the house and his daughter's trust. As Emma ventured through her studies, she blossomed, but Jack could sense something sinister lurking behind her newfound focus. Was it resentment? The girl who once looked at him with unwavering belief now hesitated, uncertainty creeping into every interaction. Then came the confrontation. One stormy evening, as light flickered through the window, Emma thrust the remnants of their brief history toward him. You sold it without consulting me. Was our family that easy to discard? Her words cut like an icy wave, and Jack's heart sank under her accusation. I thought you'd understand. I did it for you, he shouted, only to feel the hollow weight of his explanation. He was pleading, scrambling to salvage not just their memories, but the identity he had wielded. Emma's wide eyes bore into him, holding disappointment and confusion, a brutal reflection of the man he had become. As they circled around their painful truths, he felt a shifting in the atmosphere, an unexpected impulse that their family's foundation might not be entirely lost. Jack realized they were both grasping at the threads of something greater. When Emma discovered the letter lingering in the attic, a glimmer of redemption flickered between them. But uncertainty punctuated the air, heralding an unspooling legacy wrapped in familial secrets. Could this hidden inheritance be the very thing that tore them apart or stitched their fraying bond together? With that final thought heavy on his heart, the next chapter of their lives loomed ahead, beckoning as the storm outside raged on. Would they brave the tempest together, or be swept apart by the thunderous distance now echoing within their home? Jack felt both the physical and emotional weight of the storm bearing down on him as he entered their now empty beach house one last time. He stood in the living room, air heavy with absence, imagining the laughter that once danced along the walls. The furniture had been cleared out, but the memories lingered like specters haunting this husk of a home. He de-sold their haven for a quick solution, but the ramifications were far deeper and more profound than he had anticipated. As he gazed at the familiar view of the ocean, now shrouded in gray clouds, he wondered how he could bridge the chasm that had formed between him and Emma. The fractures in their relationship were undeniable, yet he felt a flicker of defiance. This wasn't where their story had to end. At that moment he resolved to confront the ghosts of his past. He needed to make amends, to regain her trust, to show Emma that he was still the man who loved her fiercely and unconditionally. A future without the beach house could still be vibrant. It just required a new path. The next morning he arranged a breakfast date, a simple outing at their local cafe. The card he had written that morning weighed heavy in his pocket, a promise disguised as a note of apology for the recent upheaval. He knew he needed to express not just his regrets, but also his hopes. There was an undeniable gulf created by his poor decision, but there was also the potential to fill it with understanding and shared goals. Sitting across from Emma, Jack struggled to find the right words. He fiddled with his coffee cup, the steam curling into the air like the memories he desperately wanted to grasp. Emma's eyes were downcast, focusing on her untouched plate. He could sense the tension thick and suffocating. "Emma, there's something I need to say," Jack began, catching the hint of unresolved bitterness in her posture. "I know I made a rash decision by selling the beach house. I thought it was the best option for us at the time. But it wasn't just a thing I see that now. It was a part of our family." Her eyes met his sharp and questioning. "You didn't think I'd care? That I wouldn't want to be a part of such a significant choice?" A wave of shame washed over Jack. "No, I didn't. I realize now that I should have involved you. I thought I was protecting you, as if taking the weight off our shoulders would somehow shield you. But I see that I failed us both. I don't want to be the dad who makes decisions without you. You deserve a voice in our lives." Emma nodded slowly, but doubt lingered in her expression. "It just felt like you were giving up on us. Like you dismissed our family's history." He could see the pain etched on her face, the uncertainty that had taken root since the sale. "I believe we can build new memories without that house. I want to show you that we can carve out a future, fill our lives with challenges and triumphs, but I can't do that alone. We have to trust one another again." As Jack leaned forward, urgency replaced his hesitance. He pulled out the card that had been his lifeline for their conversation. "I have a proposal. It's time for us to rewrite our story together. Let us find new adventures, create our own traditions. I want to make a pact with you to not just dwell on what we've lost, but to imagine what's possible." For a fleeting moment he caught a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Then, heavy silence enveloped them, their individual thoughts swirling in the air like the storm outside. Would Emma see the potential for a new beginning? The answer seemed just out of reach, leaving Jack suspended in uncertainty as he waited for her response. He knew they were still at the precipice, but the next step would determine whether they would leap forward or retreat back into their separate worlds. Would Emma take that leap with him? Or would she hold tight to the past that was slipping through their fingers? Jack's heart hammered in his chest, the silence spanning between them thick and oppressive. He wished he could read Emma's thoughts as easily as he read the tide's predictable rhythmic. Instead, her gaze drifted to the table, where the remnants of their breakfast had become trivial in the face of their unresolved tension. Finally she looked up, a flicker of determination wrestling with uncertainty in her eyes. "What do you want, Jack?" Her voice was quiet, but the intensity behind her question demanded clarity. It uprooted the comforting notion that everything would simply fall into place if he just asked for a fresh start. "I want to put us first," he uttered, pushing his coffee cup aside, banishing the remnants of comfort. "I want us to engage with our lives again together. We need to build something that reflects who we are now, rather than what we once had." Her expression shifted, revealing a mix of skepticism and intrigue. "And how do you propose we do that? Just saying you want to try is not enough, you know." Jack swallowed hard, the weight of lack of a clear plan pressing down. "I know. I want to start small, maybe a weekend trip? Just the two of us away from all this." The mention of a trip stirred an old memory, sparking hope. They used to love exploring nearby state parks, embarking on spontaneous adventures that stitched their lives together. "Are you serious?" she asked, her tone teetering between surprise and disbelief. "Just the two of us? No distractions?" "Yes," he affirmed, sensing an opening. "But I also want it to be a chance for us to talk about everything that went wrong, about how we can reconnect. I've spent too long avoiding the conversations we need to have. And I know it's not just my shoulders that carry this weight." Emma considered his words, searching for sincerity. "It won't fix everything in a weekend, Jack. I don't expect it to. But we have to start somewhere." As he watched her wrestle with his proposition, Jack was struck by a sudden realization. He was no longer just trying to win back her trust, he was also reclaiming parts of himself that had been numbed by despair. This moment was not solely about healing their relationship. It was about rediscovering the man he wanted to be, both for himself and for Emma. There's a hiking trail I've been wanting to try out, she eventually said, a hint of nostalgia breaking through. Maybe we could start there. Just for the day? A wave of relief washed over him, accompanied by excitement. Perfect. Let us do that. As they exchanged tentative smiles, Jack realized that every step towards Emma was also a step towards confronting his own fears. He was willing to confront the fragments of their shared past to unveil their future, albeit a future tinged with uncertainty. The following day they set out early, the sun peeking through the clouds with a tentative warmth. The landscape greeted them with familiar scents of pine and damp earth, the subtle beauty only nature could provide. With every mile they trekked, Jack felt pieces of his burden lifting, unshackled by fresh air and shared laughter. Yet, beneath the surface of light conversation lay deeper currents, conversations still waiting to unfold. The desire to reconnect was palpable, but so was the underlying discomfort of unaddressed issues. After an afternoon dipping their toes in a hidden stream, they sat on a weathered log, breathless from the hike and uncertain of what came next. The buzzing of cicadas filled the air, a stark reminder that life continued outside the pause they were taking together. Jack gathered his thoughts, knowing this was the moment he had hoped for, the moment of truth. Emma, we can't escape what happened with the beach house. We need to face it, and more importantly, we need to face each other. Her expression hardened, a reminder of the unresolved conflicts still lingering between them. Okay, then let us address it, Jack. It's time. And with that, the air around them tightened, each heartbeat echoing with the weight of this new confrontation. Would they find the courage to fully engage with the past, or would it fracture the fragile bond they had started to rebuild? The uncertainty loomed over them, a storm in its own right, waiting to unleash. Jack felt the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. He could see it etched across Emma's face, her determination conflicting with the anger simmering just beneath the surface. This was it. There would be no more sweeping things under the rug. It was time to confront the raw edge of their shared history. Let us talk about the beach house, he said, forcing himself to meet her eyes with steady confidence. That place symbolizes everything. The dreams we had, and, ultimately, the collapse of our reality. A rush of emotion washed over him as he recalled the promises made within those walls. Laughter mingled with the scent of saltwater, the whispers of plans for a future they envisioned together. All of it had been ripped away, leaving only unraveling threads in its wake. Emma narrowed her gaze, defensive yet resolute. You thought selling it would solve everything, didn't you? Her voice held a tremor, evidence of the deep hurt that lay beneath. You thought cutting ties would erase the memories. No, I thought selling it would free us, he clarified, feeling a surge of anger towards himself that he had previously perceived the house as a burden instead of a chapter left behind. I was drowning in what it represented, Emma. The good times were overshadowed by the bad. I wanted to start fresh. By running away, she shot back, her frustration radiating into the space between them. Jack felt the familiar ache of guilt spiral through him. I thought, but you didn't think it through. You didn't consider that I might need some closure, she interrupted, her voice rising. Closure that selling it can't provide. Our reality doesn't just correspond to material things, Jack. The memories are still here. The hurt is still here. Each of her words cut deeper, exposing the fragile remains of the love they used to share. He felt anchored by the weight of his decisions, and the realization of how his actions had bridged a divide instead of mending it. I want to help you heal, he said earnestly, hoping for understanding. By selling the house, I thought we could finally let go. It was too painful to keep going back, revisiting those moments when we were on top of the world and then finding ourselves in the middle of a storm. But you didn't ask me how I felt about it, Emma responded, her voice softening slightly. You've always been the one to decide what's best for us, Jack. Think about that. We need to make choices together now. A fissure opened up as he understood her perspective. It heaved the idea of control against the necessity for partnership. Under the weight of their unresolved conflict, Jack's mind raced, considering how he could acknowledge Emma's voice without losing sight of his need for change. What if we start here? He said slowly. Let us redefine what this loss means for us instead of pretending it doesn't exist. I know I've made terrible mistakes, but I want to become a better version of myself, one who listens. She looked at him, eyes unlocking some deeper vulnerability. And do you really think it's that simple? One conversation and you're a new man? He could feel the flicker of hope intermingling with doubt. "No, but it's a step. We can take it together if you're willing to walk beside me." Emma exhaled deeply, processing the weight of his words. Those silent moments permeated with uncertainty crackled like electricity between them. They were standing on the precipice of transformation, two souls, disjointed but seeking to piece together a semblance of connection. Jack knew he was only beginning to scratch the surface of what lay ahead. The road to healing would be long and fraught with challenges, but it was one he was willing to brave for the sake of their rekindled friendship, and perhaps something more. "Let us keep talking then," Emma finally said, her tone softening even further, leaving a thread of possibility dangling in the air. "But you need to realize that this could get harder before it gets easier." "Good," Jack replied, urgency swelling within him. "I'm ready for that. Let us face it all together." Just as he spoke, the buzzing of cicadas reached a fever pitch, filling the air with the sound of life, reminding him that even in the stillness, there are tumultuous layers of uncharted territory waiting to be explored. As the sun began to dip behind the trees, shadows grew long and thoughts began to form a knot in his chest. But what if facing the past unravels more than he can handle? He wondered, contemplating the next words he was about to say. Would their exploration lead them to healing, or deeper division? The hum of cicadas faded into an eerie silence as Jack processed Emma's last words, understanding the gravity of their situation. He needed to face not only their shared past, but also his own insecurities that had driven him to retreat into a corner of denial. What had once been a sanctuary near the waves had transformed into a cage constructed from lost dreams and unresolved feelings. Sitting across from Emma, Jack's heart raced. The wall between them felt fortified with each emotional misstep. He knew they had been given a precious opportunity to lay bare their vulnerabilities and confront what had been lurking in the shadows. The impulse to flee, to escape the impending discomfort, pulled at him like a tide. But staying meant reckoning, and for the first time he considered whether the pain might be worth the potential for growth. "I realize now that selling the house was not just about letting go of the past," he began slowly, searching for words that might convey the transformation brewing inside him. "It was about running away from facing what I had left in that place, both good and bad. I thought if I cut those ties I could start fresh, but I see that approach was flawed." Emma leaned in slightly, her expression softening. He wondered if she sensed the cracks begin to emerge in the armor they both wore. "What about what lies in the future, Jack?" she asked, her voice quiet but demanding. "You say you want to change, but can you commit to facing it all, even if it's painful?" This was where the real confrontation began. Jack took a breath, grounding himself. "If I had the chance to undo that decision, I would do it differently. I wouldn't conceal my fears behind a hasty choice. I de-engage because I want to be here with you. I want to find clarity despite the discomfort." Their eyes locked and he felt as though she was peeling away layers of him, revealing the truth he had kept hidden. Could he truly embrace the messiness of their past, while negotiating a path toward healing? He also felt the subtle weight of his ego sinking. Wasn't he a superhero capable of swooping in to save the day with grand gestures? He was just a man ready to listen. Jack noticed a flicker of determination light up in Emma's eyes, a shared commitment igniting. "Then let us talk more," she said, straightening in her seat. "Let us map it out. The dreams we had, the mistakes made, it's time we allow each other to feel the weight of it." Was he ready for this? A conversation that could swing in any direction, exposing the core of their fears and the bitterness they had suppressed? "Okay," he replied, trepidation swirling in his stomach. "Every detail, every moment, I'm prepared for that. We owe it to ourselves to confront it all." The shadows grew deeper as they began recounting the memories etched in the walls of the beach house, both the breathtaking sunrises and the stormy nights filled with arguments. As words flowed between them, it became clear that the dialogue served a greater purpose than mere reflection. They were laying the groundwork for a new understanding. Every acknowledgement painted a clearer picture of who they were becoming. Yet with each revelation, Jack could feel tension curling around the corners of his mind. What if burying past hurts only piled on emotional baggage too heavy to carry? Each second brought a new awareness of the delicate balance between reconciliation and vulnerability. Emma's voice broke through his swirling thoughts. "We're going to have to confront it all," she asserted. "And Jack, that includes not just the memories but our current selves, the patterns we've created due to hurt." A fresh realization hit him like a wave crashing against stone. "So, you mean this isn't just a conversation?" he asked, his pulse quickening. He sensed the stakes creeping higher, morphing into challenges he didn't yet comprehend. "No," Emma said emphatically, her intensity growing. "This is where we break the cycle. It's the moment we redefine our paths." As her words resonated within him, Jack felt a surge of determination. He had been a prisoner of the past far too long, and now was the time to step forward right into the unknown. But how far would he be willing to go to truly redefine himself alongside Emma? With their minds entwined in the dance of revelation, Jack's heart raced as he prepared for what may come next. Could he accept the possibility of unearthing buried truths, even if it risks everything he had once known? As the air thickened once more with unresolved tension, Jack thought of the challenges ahead. They had only just begun this transformative journey together. The road would likely weave through dark corners of their hearts. But if they were brave enough to tread on it, what might they uncover about themselves and each other? The thought stuck with him. Were they truly prepared for the shadows that awaited them? Jack took a deep breath. A wave of anxiety combined with a flicker of resolve coursing through him. The stakes had shifted. This wasn't just about unearthing old memories. It was about confronting the man he had been, the man he was now, and the man he wanted to become. Several layers of fear unraveled in his mind, each one echoing his uncertainties about their reconciliation. Could they really break down the walls forged by resentment, or would they merely expose raw wounds? "Let us start from the beginning," Emma urged, her voice steady yet warm. Her determination steadied him, and he felt a vulnerability open up within himself. "What do you mean?" he asked, shifting to get comfortable, yet the weight of the moment pressed heavily on his shoulders. "Let us talk about more than just memories. What have our choices crafted in us?" she prompted, her gaze intense. He thought for a moment, grappling with the complexities of their shared history. "I think I became a person who ran from discomfort instead of confronting it," Jack confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Every time something didn't go as planned, every time I faced pain, I thought I could bury it in distraction. Selling the house was just one of many escapes." Emma nodded, allowing his words to sink in. Jack could see empathy flicker across her features, but he knew they were far from resolving what had lay quietly festering beneath the surface. "And I felt that I never became the man I aspired to be. I let fear dictate my decisions." "Fear can be a powerful motivator," she said thoughtfully, almost reassuringly. "But it sounds like you're finally ready to face it, to take charge." He could sense the shift in her tone, an invitation layered with challenge. Jack closed his eyes for a moment, gathering his thoughts before unveiling the truth that had become a part of him. "But does that mean I'm ready now? What if I fall back into that same pattern of plastering over the cracks rather than sealing them?" "It's not about being perfect, Jack." Emma's voice cut through his internal chaos. "It's about showing up, being honest with ourselves and each other, and committing to this journey even when it's dark." Jack recognized the quiet strength behind her words. He wanted to step into that space with her, to embrace that vulnerability as a gift, but the fear of missteps gnawed at his confidence. "So we're not just piecing together a shattered past. We're building something new, right?" "Yes. A new foundation," she affirmed, eyes shining with conviction. One built on understanding rather than avoidance. The trust wrapped around them, their unspoken communication straining against the weight of an unresolved history. He felt both hopeful and terrified, an exhilarating juxtaposition of emotions as the vulnerability seeped in. They could actually redefine their narrative, recalibrating the plot where hurt no longer dictated the outcome. There were pieces to shift, however, like fragile glass that must be handled carefully. Jack sensed the depth of the investment required. Hours of discussions, painful disclosures, and perhaps even new agreements on how they could move forward. But was he prepared for every intricate detail? He took her hands gently, grounding himself. "Let us do this together. No running this time. Just honesty." "Honesty." "Yes." Emma's voice quivered ever so slightly, hinting at her own trepidation. But what lay behind that tremor? "Then let us confront the shadows, Jack. Let us spell out our fears, our dreams, everything." Jack nodded, his heart pounding as they abraded the surface of their past wounds with every new word exchanged. Raw considerings piled on top of each other, pain revealing itself. With jolts of realization he began connecting dots he'd long since overlooked, echoing the voices of their youth. Hopes for a future brightened by love and collaboration. Yet with each truth they trudged through, doubts lingered in corners, whispering of old habits and stark emotional resets. In the pit of his stomach, Jack felt threading fear alongside a newfound determination, both cautious and boundless. As the conversation deepened, revealing buried layers of his psyche long concealed under resistant bravado, one thought circled endlessly. But was he truly prepared for this depth of self-exploration? Tension suspended in the air around them, Jack's resolve deepened. He could feel them on the edge of discovery, the chasm between their past and potential futures, yawning wide with both risk and possibility. He couldn't ignore a most pressing question rippling through his mind. What if the darkest corners of their truths were not only enlightening but also transformative? The metaphorical door to unexplored territory loomed ahead. Jack mustered every ounce of courage, ready to step through. But what new revelations awaited them on the other side? Jack sat quietly, Emma's hand still enveloped in his, a comforting anchor amidst the tempest of his thoughts. The chill of uncertainty buzzed between them, a thin veil that could either be ripped away or unravel deeper discussions. He could feel the tremors of vulnerability coursing through him, and it both terrified and empowered him. As he gazed into her eyes, an unexpected resolve began to shape within him. What if he started, the words thick on his tongue? What if we turned each fear we've shared into a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block? The thought exploded in his mind like fireworks, illuminating paths that were hidden before. Emma responded with an arch of her brow, urging him to elaborate. We've both let our choices lead us to this point. Why not take the reins and choose how we confront our fears? Each one can teach us something vital about ourselves. Her gaze deepened, reflecting the appreciation of his insight. Everyone fears failure, Jack. But there's strength in vulnerability too. If we can expose our fears, we might find clarity in our confusion. Jack leaned back slightly, processing the thought. It felt like a slingshot pulling back, ready to launch him into a new reality. He was acutely aware of what lay beneath surface thoughts, the guilt, the shame, the regret. But holding Emma's gaze, the weight of those past emotions began to feel lighter, more manageable. In a sudden burst of inspiration he added, "Let us list our fears one by one. Perhaps putting them out there will allow us to confront them more directly than we ever have." The suggestion hung in the air, charged with promise. Emma's face brightened with potential. Yes, let us name them. Let us turn them into manageable challenges. They don't have to define us. Jack's mind raced, memories tumbling out like stones from a boulder. The fear of being alone, the fear of disappointing my family, of not achieving what I dreamed, the fear of repeating my mistakes. Each fear he disclosed felt like a thin thread, weaving them closer together. Emma began to counter with her own. The fear of not being enough, of losing you to those distractions you bury yourself in, my own fears about opening up, about dragging us both into potential hurt. They lived through each mention, more truths unearthed than he had anticipated. With each word spoken, Jack felt more emboldened, even as the memories embedded in the fears tugged at the corners of his heart. "What do we do with them now?" he asked, his voice more forceful than before, tempered with desperation and curiosity. "Let us set goals, small ones initially. Each smaller goal can combat a bigger fear," she answered with a determined glint in her eyes. "Like facing one of our fears directly this week. Each subsequent conversation can prompt us to go deeper." He considered it how practical yet intimate this undertaking would be. The idea of being brave together ignited a flame that he realized he had missed for a long time. The thought of vulnerability, once daunting, now shimmered with opportunity. "What if we fail?" he questioned, a shadow of doubt surfacing. "It's about progress, not perfection," Emma reminded him, her voice steady. There was a resolve in her tone that resonated within his own fears. "Each attempt is a step forward, and if we stumble, we do it together. That's the key, no more running away." Jack nodded slowly, the weight of her words knitting together the phrase of his doubts. To be together in this endeavor, to challenge their fears and redefine their paths, it felt like the start of something powerful. The better part of him surged with adrenaline. "So let us set a timeline for our goals. And we can check in with each other regularly. As they mapped out tentative timelines and frameworks for confrontation, Jack felt clarity washing over him. The momentum built until it was almost tangible, propelling both of them toward a shared destiny. But just as a smile cracked at the corners of his mouth, unease nestled back into the pit of his stomach, a reminder of the weight they carried. Could they truly change? Were they ready to face the ghosts that had haunted them for so long? The unsaid loomed large between them, and Jack couldn't ignore the nagging thoughts swirling in his mind. What would be the hardest truth they would have to face together? Steeling himself, Jack tightened his grip on Emma's hands. The challenge lay ahead, and he could feel the tremors of doubt wrestling at the back of his mind. As they readied to expunge their fears, he wondered if the very act of speaking them aloud would summon deeper truths yet to unfold. With the night stretching on, anticipation coiled tightly around them, Jack's next words hung pregnant with possibility. Maybe it's time to confront the biggest fear of all, the fear of losing each other if we reveal everything. The weight of Jack's revelation pulsated between them, pregnant with uncertainty. He feared the flicker of doubt gleaming in Emma's eyes, the fear that he had ventured too far. Yet, despite the tremors of vulnerability, an exhilarating rush cascaded through him. What if this was their turning point? Emma's brow furrowed slightly as she processed his words, her grip on his hands tightening instinctively. What do you mean by that? Losing each other? I mean, Jack began, the words pouring out like a dam breaking. The prospect of peeling back the layers of our fears only to discover we're not compatible. What if confronting this reveals deeper issues we've both avoided? We've built this bond, and what if unraveling it because of truths we've hidden could change everything? Emma took a deep breath, clearly weighing his concerns. But isn't that the risk we have to take, Jack? Facing our fears together? If we pull the rug out from under ourselves without bravely confronting what lies beneath, then haven't we already lost? Jack felt her determination push against his doubts. This was it. He realized the critical juncture in their journey where the evasion of fears transformed from a safety net into a looming guillotine. They could do this, not only for each other but for their future selves. The idea gripped him, piquing his resolve. All right, Jack said, steeling himself. What if we turn this fear into a shared objective? Let us establish a singular goal associated with confronting our fear of losing each other. Maybe an exercise designed to deepen our trust? Emma's expression brightened, as if a glimmer had sparked somewhere in the depths of her reflection. We can create a safe space for open communication, like a truth night where we expressly encourage the other to share revelations. We can set guidelines to ensure it's constructive, boundaries that protect but also challenge us. Jack pondered the concept. So this truth night could allow us to voice insecurities, perhaps even share past experiences that shaped who we are today? It's a risk for sure. Every growth opportunity is risky, Emma countered, her voice steady. But that's what makes it meaningful. By diving deep, we'll either fortify our relationship or gain clarity on whether it's worth continuing. No more wandering in the dark. Jack felt a fire ignite. Her strength surged within him, a current of hope against the tide of fear. Constructing a tangible pathway grounded in trust and open dialogue could uniquely bond them and shatter barriers that had obscured their connection. Okay, I'm in, he finally conceded, feeling a blend of fear and excitement intertwine. When do we start? Let us aim for this weekend. We can revisit our lists of fears, examine them through the lens of our truths, and allow ourselves to be completely vulnerable. A shiver skittered down his spine, a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. What if we discover something that can't be reconciled? We won't know until we try, she said, her tone earnest but unwavering. It's the willingness to face those very fears that can hold the answers. Jack realized he stood at the precipice of transformation, not only in his relationship with Emma but within himself. This opportunity to confront the possibility of losing her ignited a sense of purpose deeper than merely addressing their fears. His heart beat stronger, enveloped in a blend of hope and uncertainty. But beneath the layers of budding courage, a darker consideration lingered. What if, beyond the truths they unearthed, Jack discovered a critical flaw in Emma he hadn't noticed before? What if this completely changed how he viewed her? With the night rolling on and the promise of revelations weighing heavily in the air, Jack took a deep breath while grappling with the once distant specter of doubt. He started cautiously, What if our biggest fears about losing each other easily lead to unearthing truths that can never be repackaged? Emma met his gaze, tension thickening the atmosphere as her eyes searched his for signs of fear. Then we face it head-on. His stomach churned, realization dawning that their journey had only begun. While the prospect of deeper truths both thrilled and terrified him, Jack knew one thing was clear: this weekend would be their ultimate test, one that could reshape the very foundation of their relationship. What if we inadvertently trigger the worst fear of all, the fear that we're not the people we once believed we were? He whispered, the gravity of his question resonating in the stillness surrounding them. The weekend loomed over Jack like a storm cloud, a mix of anticipation and dread coiling tightly in his chest. Each tick of the clock felt amplified, reverberating against his resolve. He was prepared to forge ahead, yet an unseen hand gripped his throat as thoughts spiraled through his mind. What would he reveal? What would he uncover? The notion of vulnerability was both terrifying and oddly intoxicating. As he and Emma prepared for their truth night, the atmosphere in the apartment began to shift. It was like setting the stage for an elaborate performance, with emotion suspended in the air. They had cleared the living room, transforming it into an intimate space. The soft glow of candles flickered, promising warmth amid the cool, stark reality of what lay ahead. "Are you ready?" Emma asked, her voice a steady anchor amidst his internal tempest. Jack nodded, though certainty was far from his mind. "Yeah, I think so." They settled onto the floor, knees drawn up, facing each other across a small table. As Emma handed him the notebook filled with their fears that had felt so abstract, yet so personal, Jack's fingers trembled. This was it. Each bullet point had the potential to dismantle the foundation they had spent months building. "I guess we start here," she said, gesturing at the notebook. "You go first." The weight of her gaze pushed against him, prompting a deeper introspection. He struggled initially, words caught in his throat as he sifted through memories and emotions. Then, finally daring to breach the silence, he began. "This fear of losing you, I realize it's not just about us. It's tied to my need for validation, the fear that if I lose you, I lose a part of my identity." He could see the corner of Emma's lip tremble as she absorbed his confession. "That's incredibly brave, Jack." The affirmation bolstered him, allowing him to dig deeper. "It's like growing up, I always felt overshadowed. I didn't know my worth was independent of others' perceptions until you came along. But that fear you talked about? What if I can't find that worth again if it's lost?" Emma reached across the space between them. Fingers grazed his hand and ignited a spark of connection. "That's why we're here, to forge something stronger, to rediscover ourselves together. But you have to understand it's okay to feel this way. It doesn't define you." Fueled by her words, Jack continued, and as the revelations poured forth, it felt as if he were peeling back layers of skin. He spoke about insecurities, past relationships, and how they had shaped him. Each admission felt like walking on a tightrope, balancing between fear and liberation. Vulnerability wasn't just a tool. It was the catalyst for growth. Then it was Emma's turn. As she began to share her own fears, the struggles with perfection, the relentless pursuit of approval, he noticed a shift in her demeanor. The lightness that usually surrounded her faded momentarily, replaced by shadows of doubt. Her voice wavered, revealing a fragility he had yet to witness. "I'm terrified," she confessed, "that if I drop my guard, I'll be seen as inadequate. It's always been easier to project strength than to show my vulnerabilities. But I want you to know me, all of me. What if you don't like what you see?" Jack felt a rush of protectiveness sweep over him. "I could never feel that way about you," he reassured her. "It's precisely those imperfections that make you real. That's who I've fallen in love with." They continued to delve into unknown territory, tears mingling with laughter as forgotten memories and hidden fears surfaced. Each moment eroded the barriers they had carefully constructed around their hearts. Inevitably, the tone shifted as they confronted the raw edges of their revelations. Jack felt a pang of hesitation creeping back in, but he reminded himself of the journey they had undertaken. It wasn't just about sharing fears, but confronting their core selves, navigating through the chaos of their psyches together. As their truth night unfolded, Jack realized that this wasn't merely about conquering fears. It was about rediscovering a deeper connection that had been buried under layers of misunderstandings. And yet, even as newfound clarity emerged, a gnawing uncertainty lingered. What would they do with all this newfound knowledge? Jack, if we find out we're not who we thought we were, what then? Emma asked, her voice low yet weighted with urgency. He paused, heart racing as the reality of her question hung in the air, an uncharted territory looming ominously ahead. What if this is only the beginning? Jack whispered, caught between the thrill of discovery and the looming specter of hidden truths yet to unfold. As the sun emerged timidly, casting soft rays into the space they had crafted for their truth night, Jack woke to an unfamiliar sensation: hope. The revelations from the night before still lingered in the air, but instead of apprehension, he felt invigorated, fueled by a newfound desire to confront their fears head-on. The journey they had undertaken so far was only a prologue, and he felt it, despite the lingering doubts. Emma stirred beside him, the remnants of their emotional unburdening settling into a comfortable silence. It was a silence that buzzed with possibility. The weight of vulnerability no longer felt like a burden. It transformed into a canvas for both of them, a space to paint their renewed connection and aspirations. Jack leaned against the kitchen counter preparing coffee. The rhythmic sound of brewing brewed with a sense of purpose. Today they would take steps to redefine their evolving relationship, moving beyond mere survival to a space where they could embrace growth. "Good morning," Emma greeted him, her voice still husky with sleep yet brightened by a hint of optimism. Her eyes sparkled like the dawn, and it struck him how much he had yearned for this version of her, unfiltered, open and ready to change. "Morning. How are you feeling today?" Jack inquired, handing her a steaming cup, an offering of warmth, nurturing not just their bodies but the foundation of their connection. "I feel lighter," she admitted, biting into a croissant, "like we've shed layers overnight." He could see the transformation in her, an ease about her that hadn't existed before. She was stepping into her confidence, a pivotal shift that mirrored the personal evolution he felt as well. "Me too," Jack confessed. "There's something liberating about facing our fears together." "But what's next?" Emma sipped her coffee thoughtfully, setting the cup down as if considering the stakes of the day ahead. "I think we should take our fears and begin the work of confronting those feelings every day. We've got to build on that honesty." Jack nodded. The structure of their truth night had laid the groundwork, and now it was time for construction. They could not only share truths but create mechanisms to navigate their fears and aspirations gradually. His mind sparked with ideas. "Let us create a fear journal, a log where we chart our progress and reflect on the small steps we take, the challenges we face, and the victories we celebrate. We can meet once a week to review it together." "I love that," Emma enthused, her excitement illuminating the room. "It creates accountability while ensuring we don't lose sight of what we're working toward." As they discussed the logistics, Jack felt excitement well up within him. He envisioned weeks filled with sincere reflections, meaningful exchanges, and most importantly, growth. Their renewed commitment would open doors to deeper conversations about hopes, dreams, and aspirations that had remained unspoken. Emma pushed herself away from the table, an abundance of energy propelling her. "Let us set some goals. What do we want to achieve personally?" The air grew charged with energy as they brought their dreams to life. They pored over pages with ink and conviction, each word marking a turning point. The list stretched beyond ordinary aspirations into the realm of profound change. Jack mapped out steps toward achieving professional development, while Emma outlined her quest to embrace vulnerability in her art. With each tick against their lists, Jack felt layers of his past dreams begin to crystallize into something tangible. He saw shadows blurring, shifting from fears into a defined path that resonated with confidence. They weren't just crafting individual journeys. They were weaving a tapestry of shared growth. The sun climbed higher, illuminating not only their kitchen but also the paths they were carving together. Outside the window, life thrived. The world continued in its inherent chaos, but Jack discovered he felt anchored. Immersed in this fresh chapter, an unexpected conversation took shape. "Do you think we'll ever face setbacks again?" he asked, curiosity threading through his words. "What happens when we stumble this time?" Emma looked contemplative, her eyes narrowing as she considered. "Of course we will. But this time we'll have the tools to navigate those hurdles. We can return to our fear journal, lean on each other, and promise to keep communicating. As we grow, we have to remember that challenges don't negate progress. Jack absorbed her insights. Her unwavering spirit lightened any lingering shadows of doubt. This partnership would usher in uncharted territory, but the ability to return to open dialogue was their strongest weapon in confronting the weight of the world. As they wrapped their goals into a patchwork of dreams, Jack felt the weight of his previous fears dissipate, replaced with newfound resolve. This wasn't merely about surviving or retreating from challenges. It was about being unabashedly present in their lives and confronting whatever lay ahead. Leaving the kitchen, Jack and Emma stepped into their new day unencumbered by previous shadows. United and poised, they were ready to embrace transformation, creating a solid framework for their lives. Jack realized their journey together began with each choice they made, every decision anchoring him to the fundamental truth. He was not just Emma's father or a teacher. He was becoming one with a greater vision. As they shared laughter and exchanged ideas for the day ahead, Jack's heart swelled with gratitude. They were weaving themselves back together, strand by strand, with each discussion and each step taken together. In this moment, with sincerity and commitment as their guiding lights, Jack felt a solid confidence bloom in his chest. He was a protective father, an accountable partner, and a man who had finally embraced who he was meant to be. Today was merely one chapter in their lifelong journey, a reassurance that there may yet be storms on the horizon, but they would face them together with resilience. Take the plunge into personal growth now. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our mission. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, because your thoughts matter. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is crucial for every true fan of personal overcoming stories. Let us make it happen.